You're just religious. This one just goes to me. I couldn't find JFA having written anything responding to this, so I just wrote out some talking points. I think Christians are discriminated against on college campuses. Ours at Georgia State. Several years ago, GAP was there, the Genocide Awareness Project, and we were talking to people, and a few of the pro-life kind of leaders knew that I was there and that I had done some writing and research and speaking on stem cell research. So every once in a while, stem cell would come up and people would bring them to me, like to go talk to Josh. And so this one time, the pro-life director of the Archdiocese of Atlanta, Mary, she's still there, really sweet gal. She brings these two kind of young Asian women to me. It's like, they're asking about stem cell research. So I kind of did like a 3-minute stem cell 101, the different types of stem cell research, and I gave 3 principled arguments why I'm opposed to human embryonic stem cell research. And that was it. And then, now I'm talking to these girls, but there's this kind of socially awkward situation because there's this white guy in a trench coat off to the side, just like watching, but totally not engaging. So it's weird. You know, I kind of look at him every once in a while. He's not really looking at me. He's just kind of listening. Okay. So I did my 3-minute spiel. And then I think the girls were Christians because when I finished my thing, one of the girls said, okay, that was really interesting. Thanks. Are you a Christian? And what I said, and I quote, I said this. I said, yes, but notice I did not make one religious argument against embryonic stem cell research. And as soon as I said yes, white dude goes, ah, and storms off. Like, I can't believe I just spent time, I got snookered into listening to a religious idiot who believes in a 2,000-year-old book. And like, I mean, like, but everything up until then, I was just saying made total sense to me. He was listening, but then I got discriminated against. And this is why I don't wear my faith on my sleeve. When I go onto college campus, I'm not wearing a Christian t-shirt. I'm not even wearing a pro-life shirt. I usually wear like a band shirt, like Dave Matthews Band or something like that. I like Dave Matthews Band, but also many college students like Dave Matthews Band, so it's common ground in a shirt. Because we're discriminated against, I don't wear it on my sleeve. Does it mean I'm rejecting Christ every time I'm asked if I'm a Christian? No. But I don't start conversations usually that way, and sometimes if I'm asked really early in the conversation whether I'm a Christian, I don't feel like it's time to go and start defending my religious views. So I might ask a question like this: how do you know that I'm religious? Right, if I've just done the 10-second pro-life apologist, well, the unborn are growing, so they're alive, and they've got human parents, so they're human, and human beings like you and me are valuable, right? And they're like, well, are you religious? See, I didn't, why do you know? I'm religious. Like, maybe I'm not. It's like Scott Klusendorf. Now, he doesn't encourage people to do this, but he tells a funny story of being in a debate where someone in the audience said, well, you're just a man. And he said, how do you know I'm a man? And he's like, well, you've got a low voice. He's like, well, so does Joan Rivers. But how do you know? Now, I'm kind of a little bit taking the same ploy. Like, I didn't make any religious arguments. Why are you like suddenly ad hominem attacking me for being religious? Now, I might also say something like this. Yes, I am a Christian, but notice that I haven't made any religious arguments in my case for the humanity of the unborn. So why don't you respond to my scientific and philosophic case against abortion instead of simply resorting to ad hominem attacks? I have no interest in doing the same to you. I want to hear what you think and why so I can consider your argument as opposed to just attacking the man. Now that sounds pretty pointed, but I think that's a very legitimate response to such a crap argument. I mean, just going with, this is the weakest of everything we've talked about today, and it's totally a low blow as far as it's in the how, they're basically saying you're just stupid is what they're trying to say. And I think it's fair to gently but strongly stick to your guns and say, you're going to have to go with my arguments, not whatever you think my religion happens to be. I've also said this. I have pro-life friends and colleagues who are atheists that use the same arguments that I use for the personhood of the fetus. So how would you respond to their argument? And if they don't believe you, you can tell them about secularprolife.org, where a friend of mine named Kelsey, who is a Christian, was concerned that we weren't doing a good enough job as a movement as a whole and communicating to atheists, and so created a website with purely secular arguments for, and most of the arguments are the same things that I use. The only thing where it starts to get different is like when we talk about why humans are valuable in the first place. Well, that's going to strongly diverge because I don't think, I've yet to hear, I think, a very, very good secular argument for human value. I think arguments exist, I just don't think any of them are good that I've heard so far. Doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Maybe I just haven't heard the good one yet. But that's where it's shaped. But like I think sled is literally on there. Like, that's what I use all the time. So, so what would you say to an atheist that makes the same arguments as I do? It's the same thing when they're like, well, you're just a man. Okay, well, a bunch of my friends and colleagues are women that make the exact same arguments. How do you respond to them? You can't attack their gender. So what do you say to them? Just go pretend I'm a woman. That kind of thing. It's like, what would you say to them? I don't literally say that, but You might say, if I were an atheist, I'd still be pro-life because my argument for the humanity of the fetus is purely scientific and philosophical, not religious. And lastly, imagine if you told me that you were pro-choice and then laid out several valid arguments for your position, like the violinist argument, and then I responded with, well, you're just an atheist. Would that be like a really lame counter-argument? That would be so lame. I agree. Kind of like what you just did to me. So let's talk about the arguments. I'm going to find some hopefully slightly humorous, lighthearted, but slightly pointed way of like, look, come on. Let's have a good discussion here. And I'm probably going to sound kind of like Don Blank. I'm going to kind of, that little, you know what I mean? Come on. But in a nice way.